Welcome students. The program BSc subject language English 4th semester session number 31. The time machine theme of the novel law narrative and technique created by Ravi Kumar A, assistant professor Department of English Government First Aid College Yelhanka created this session along with Dr. Suresh SB as ACD. The time machine theme of the time machines I subdivided into some slides. So here I have given the number 1 to this slide number to this slide. The theme of any work of fiction reflects contemporary realities, anxieties and cultural shifts. H.G. Wells' Time Machine is no exception to this rule. Though this is a scientific fiction, it is still located in the real world and it struggles, so it reflects many of the everyday life realities of the time, particularly Britain in 1895 was a witness to great socio-economic changes. Industrial revolution of the 18th and 19th centuries had generated incredible wealth, but it just consolidated the gap between the rich and the poor. Karl Marx writings that critique the exploration of the poor. Karl Marx writings that critiqued exploitation of the poor by the rich were widely appreciated. Britain's social structure was class based and it was rigid. Any upward mobility was impossible. Any upward is impossible. The H.G. Wells had a first-hand experience of this rigid class hierarchy. From this perspective, his novella is a cautionary tale of the Victorian era. Eli and Morlocks are the two human like species of the year 802-701. Eli are the descendants of the British elite who exploit the poor to create an easy and idyllic life. They are representatives of the British people. The irony is that these people have lost the intelligence and the strength of that characterized present day humans. Whereas the Morlocks, the descendants of the British working class, have toiled underground. They have lost their ability to see in the daylight and have restored to cannibalism. Wells uses the distinction between these two species to posit that the divisions between social class in Victorian England are so stark and harmful that they could lead the human species to split into two different species, each embodying some of the worst characteristics of humans. The fear and violence that characterize the relationship between the ally and Morlocks is also meant to echo the tensions between workers and elites in Victorian Britain. Wells asks readers to consider that this relationship, if not reconciled, could evolve into something much nastier. Technology and progress, another major theme that the novella deals with is the debate between technology and progress. As the traveler discusses his time machine, he uses technical language, understandably, to reveal his intelligence, creativity, and ambition to fuel the technological progress. In contrast to his language, the language of the ally lacks the technical know how and creativity. Their living conditions are so idyllic that they are not even required to struggle to meet their basic needs. He interprets this state to be the result of technological progress. However, when he witnesses that the Morlocks have to resort to cannibalism as their basic needs are not met, H.G. Wells makes it clear that technological progress is not essentially beneficial and are liberating to everyone. Many scientific fiction stories portrays complex and exciting technologies of the future, but the time machine takes an opposite approach, showing that the Victorian era could be the technical pinnacle of humankind, followed by a deterioration of the technological and cultural progress that many people expect to continue indefinitely into the future. Suddenly, new goods were available, and the ones orders tasks became easier. Uh, there are also there are also new dangers like rampant pollution and the industrial accidents. Not to forget that the situation may become worse. For example, social divisions based on new wealth and new labor conditions. Interestingly, Wells does not imagine that this Victorian technological boom would continue indefinitely. Nor does he imagine a world endangered by the technology related disaster. Instead, he imagines something more complex, that technological progress could create living conditions so idyllic, and that human progress and intelligence disappear and so disastrous that humans could resort to cannibalism. Technology in the time machine is then directly linked to both progress and to intellectual decay and violence. Thus, neither the novel nor its author H.G. Wells presents an easy answer to whether technology is good or bad for humanity. On the one hand, technological progress can improve lives, but on the other hand, technology can destroy the very conditions that make humans vibrant and live for long. However, H.G. Wells is constantly undecided about the role of technology in human society. The differences between the leaves of the Ella and the Morlocks are more broadly symbolic of the contradiction between the promise and the peril of technological innovation. This is a direct reflection of the social conditions of Victorian England in which technology created ease, wealth, and freedom for the upper class, and furnishing technology working conditions for the lower classes. This duality is seen too in the time machine itself, which is both liberating in that it makes time travel possible, which could before only be imagined, and perilous. For instance, the time traveler could materialize inside the solid object in the future, or he could be stranded in dangerous conditions. The key to technology might then be found in the time traveler himself, who uses technology not to wield power over others but to ask questions about the status quo and bring back knowledge that could help humanity. In other words, the time traveler can be seen as emblematic of science itself. He relentlessly forms hypotheses about the future and then readjusts them based on observation in order to generate knowledge which mirrors the scientific method. If the time traveler represents science free of corrupting social forces, then Wells is suggesting that the time traveler's tale, with all its implications of social justice, is that technology can offer at its best. The narrative techniques of the novel. The narrator is a speaker through whom the author tells a story. This influences the story's point of view. Wells constructs an creative frame for the time machine, using, in essence, two narrators. The first is the true narrator, Hillier, who introduces the time traveler and the other guests present at his house in the first two chapters, and who writes the concluding words in the epilogue. The second narrator is the time traveler himself, who takes over the narration beginning with the third chapter and who disappears into the future at the end of the 12th chapter. This narrative technique allows Wells to speculate about the future and at the same time voice his positions on topics such as politics and evolution through the voice of others and within the framework of an adventure story. It also gives credibility to the time traveler story, as Hillier presents the story in the time traveler's own words. And here we comes to the end of the story. And here we have the reference section, and you can draw more information by using these references. And thank you, that's all from the desk. Thank you.